Hey guys, welcome to your December 2020 readings. I'm super excited to get into these readings for you guys. And I just wanted to really quickly say that I'm changing things up a little bit for December. Depending on how this goes, this may be something that I do in 2021 as well. But essentially, I just felt like I needed to try something different, switch up the categories, and also just in full transparency, the 12 zodiac sign readings for YouTube are a lot of work every single month, and I'm just feeling like I need to give myself a little bit more of a breather to be able to keep up with my private client readings as well as all the other things that I do in my business. So I thought it would be fun to experiment and try grouping these readings a little bit differently. You guys know, if you're familiar with my channel, that I read primarily for artists, creators, entrepreneurs, and anyone who's working on their personal growth as well. So for my readings for now, what I've decided is to switch things up into categories of artists, entrepreneurs, startups, and investors. So regardless of your zodiac sign, if you fall into any one of these categories or maybe multiple of those categories, I encourage you to go ahead and listen to the video for that category. Like, let's say, for example, if you're an artist, but you're also starting a new company this month or in 2021, then you could listen to the artist reading and the startup reading. And vice versa, if you're an entrepreneur but you also like to do investments, you could listen to both of those. Just group them however it makes sense to you. I wanted to try this because I feel like it makes sense on a broader level, given that even the videos that I get the most views on still represent a very, very small slice of the global population. So I've been meditating on this, and what I've been kind of given as far as like a spiritual answer is that I can actually tune in and give general readings in different categories than just the zodiac signs, because you guys represent, a very close-knit group. Those of you who've been on my channel for a while, or even if you're new here, the vast majority of people are not going to see these readings. So every reading that I do, I set the intention that I'm getting the clearest and most accurate information possible for the people who are going to see this video. So with that intention and with this continued focus on entrepreneurship and makers and creators, let's move forward and try something new together. Hopefully it's not too different or weird for you guys, and just bear with me and let's see how this goes. Okay, entrepreneurs, if you are someone who owns your own business or you're self-employed or you have an existing stream of income that comes from your own efforts and you are sort of like the driving force through it, even if you do have business partners and things like that, this reading is for you. And I want to just share first what came through in the meditation. So while I was tuning in for you guys, I felt a very strong internal feeling of fear. It was kind of coming up in this sense that feels like it has to do with not knowing what way forward is really going to be the best for you. And some of this, for many of you, if you have, for example, brick and mortar businesses, or if your business involves some kind of human to human contact, this could be a really understandably fear-inducing time for you, because we don't know when and how these restrictions that we have going on, which are different in different countries, but essentially we don't know kind of like how things are going to move forward. And so that can be something that really stirs up a lot of insecurity, particularly if you're thinking about allocating funds and making a plan for your marketing, or if you're thinking about a big pivot, for example, in reaction to the COVID situation. This could be a time where you're just feeling kind of uncertain about the future, which is totally understandable. But really, the message that I was getting is to kind of visualize and bring your awareness of a column of light around you, and really to sit in the power of your own energy field. And that might sound really woo-woo to some of you, but I think that there's something here about kind of reigniting that sort of even spatial awareness of your energy field and the energetic kind of power, I guess, that you hold as a living conscious being. And recognize that you can use your personal vitality and your life force to come up with creative solutions along the way. It's kind of like relaxing and releasing whatever beliefs and thought patterns are causing this fearful reaction in you, and remembering that you actually are the sovereign of your own life, and that everything outside of you that is a challenge is something that you can overcome. You just have to be willing to think creatively, and sometimes it means that you have to be brave and fight for what you believe in as well. And so that's something that I feel coming through strongly, is to kind of, if you are a business owner or you're an entrepreneur and you're feeling this kind of uncertainty about the future, whether or not it has anything to do with laws or COVID or the political situation or anything like that, it may have something, to do with nothing of that. It may have everything to do with something personally within you that you're thinking about doing or that you feel called to do, but which is a big change in your business, for example. There's just a sense of returning back to kind of your core ability to create. So maybe even getting in touch with your inner child, thinking about things that you really enjoyed creating when you were younger or before you had sort of like the cares of the world like weighing on you, and sort of reconnecting with your ability to do things for yourself and that kind of inherent faith and trust, not only in yourself, but in the laws of the universe, right? And recognizing that you can contribute in a meaningful way to the collective, no matter what the situation is outside of you. And if you kind of hang on to that core spiritual truth, then you'll be able to kind of weather any storm, because you're anchoring yourself to something bigger and more meaningful, such as the evolution of the species, right? And the ability to create value and serve your fellow humankind. That's much bigger than partisanship. That's much bigger than temporary uncertainties with regulations, and some might say the overstepping of restrictive government measures. Some would argue maybe they're not restrictive enough. It really depends on your own personal temperament and the information you've had access to. But you can tap into something higher than all of that. You can tap into something that is truer than all of that, but it really is in your spirit. It's not in something outside of you, like a slogan or propaganda or laws externally, changing. That's all surface level. Even though it does affect us and it does change our circumstances, there's something much deeper and more powerful that you can draw on. And that's really what I was feeling from the meditation, is like you're being encouraged to kind of meditate with that and sit with that, because that is your real power. So let's take a look at your cards and we'll get some more information. Entrepreneurs, guidance for entrepreneurs. Okay. And we're going to get you a path and obstacle card for the entrepreneurs. I'm also going to get you a surrender card, because surrender is extremely healing. And Destiny, Sacred Destiny Oracle card. Give us an insight into the landscape that you're walking through. And we'll also get you a Bob Ross message. So we've got the cheetah as your path and the black egg as the influence or an obstacle. Yeah, and this really comes down to willingness to, for the first thing that I see, act on your instincts and be courageous enough to speak your truth, which is the black egg. The black egg relates to the throat chakra. And in this deck, it's all about really being honest with what and who you feel that you are at this time. And it's about not letting fear hold you back, essentially, from, sometimes when we get that like tight feeling in our throat when we're having a difficult conversation, that's because the throat chakra is being, you're actually tensing your throat, and it's because of tension and fear about how the other person might respond, or it's about, holding back the pain that you have inside because you don't want to reveal it to the other person, or because you don't want to be, exaggerate things. You're trying to like stay measured, but then because of that, you're, holding a lot in. And so that can be one reason, behind like throat chakra issues. But there's something here with the cheetah card as your path that I do feel like has a lot to do with seizing opportunities when they come as well. So it's not all about challenging yourself to speak up about difficult things. It's more about like not shying away from situations in which you could actually offer something of value, but you have to be brave enough to kind of insert yourself, or you have to be brave enough to kind of tackle that. So some of you, I could see, if you're an entrepreneur, for example, you might see a really great new opportunity opening up for you that's maybe not even necessarily in your exact industry, but that you feel you have something to add. But because it's not the industry that you've been in, or because it's sort of just related to the industry that you've been in, but it's not quite exactly it, you might be feeling like, oh, I can't say that, or I can't, put myself into that. There's so many other people who have been doing that for so much longer. And, you might be telling yourself these kind of things, but I actually feel like this pairing is saying, you're actually being challenged, entrepreneurs. You're being challenged to take those opportunities anyway and to run with it. Okay, so that's kind of what I'm seeing there. Now we have the Eight of Wands, Eight of Swords, which is interesting, two eights, the Moon, and the Queen of Swords. Then we got the Magician, Six of Swords, Five of Wands, and the Four of Pentacles. Interesting. So this is a reading for December of 2020, right? And December is really like the gateway into the new year. So for you, I feel like the end of 2020, if you're watching this and it's resonating to you, it feels like the end of 2020 is about recognizing your ability to generate opportunities and to generate well-being for yourself. Eights are a power number, right? And you've got two eights starting off the month. The Eight of Wands and the Eight of Swords, which are very different cards. The Eight of Swords shows this person who's she's wearing the red, which is like her life force. It's red is the color symbolic of blood, which is the life force, and she's tied up. So it's like her life force is being tied up by what? It's her mind, because the swords represent the mind. So your life force, your vital life force and your energy is being tied up by your mindset. Okay, your mindset is not honoring the full potential that you have as an entrepreneur to create new opportunities for yourself and to generate value for others. You're thinking some kind of thought that's blocking you from really blossoming. But you have the Eight of Wands here showing that something is actually going directly into that. So it could be related to maybe even this reading, right? Maybe this reading could unlock something for you where you're like, okay, now I know I need to go right to the heart of the matter here. I need to focus directly on whatever is sort of holding me back in my mindset, so that once I shift that, I will start to see forward motion and I'll free myself to go on a new journey. And so there is something that you need to address. And for some of you, you don't have a lot of Pentacle cards in this reading, but something that may, based on the cards that did come up, something that may be involved for some of you is something like money blocks and resistance to raising your prices, or resistance to just being paid what you're worth. Because on some level, like, you might feel like, oh yeah, I really deserve a raise, or I really need to raise my prices, or I really need to readjust my offerings because it needs to be more honoring of the time and energy that I put into things. But then when you actually go to do it, it's a lot more difficult than that. It's more like, gosh, I really remember all the reasons why I priced things exactly as at this rate, and raising it means that I have to, take risks, or it means that I have to stand by my worth. And, you might be worried that less people will buy from you, or that your long-term customers will be unhappy or dissatisfied. But whatever this is, I feel like it's something that you need to address, because it's holding you back from really reaching your potential. The Moon and the Queen of Swords in the second week of December, I personally feel is really about a continuation of this theme that I've been talking about with the Eight of Swords and the Eight of Wands. It's about really getting to the bottom of things. So I'm going to recommend for some of you, if you are entrepreneurs who are watching this in December, it might be really beneficial for you to connect with some kind of a business coach who can help you sort of sort things out. Because the Queen of Swords is great at sort of cutting through bullshit, frankly. She's really good at getting to the heart of things. She's precise, and she's, kind, but she's also very balanced. And so she'll tell you when you're engaging in behaviors that are not helpful for you, or she will help you to see that for yourself. So I feel like maybe in the second week of December, if you are an entrepreneur that maybe doesn't normally invest in this kind of help for yourself, it would be maybe something to really think about working with a business coach, so that you can set some really clear goals and clear through some mindset issues that we see previously, so that you can go into 2021 with like a clean slate, and really with being totally aware of what's important to you, and have all of that distracting, confusing stuff with the Moon card, having all that stuff sort of pieced out in a way that makes sense, so that you're not kind of swimming in this kind of mysterious gunk, right? Sometimes that's the meaning of the Moon card itself, is like, things aren't always what they seem. We feel really confused. We feel murky. We don't necessarily know. We have some intuitions, but we also have instincts, and we have impulses, and we have fears. And so it's kind of hard to figure out what's actually going on. And with the Queen of Swords, it's like she's a coach, or maybe a friend, maybe a Gemini, Libra, or Gemini, Libra, or Aquarius friend, who is very, to the nose, very straightforward, very much somebody who will tell you, what it's all about, tell you what she really thinks. It could be a female, or it could be male for some of you, but this is somebody who is high-minded, right? So whether or not you're going to work with a professional or just open up to a friend, make sure it's somebody who you can trust to tell you the truth, or to help you discover your own truth, really is like more so what it is. But that's kind of what I feel is like the second week of December is really about clearing away confusion from the most recent, months of 2020. Now, the third week, you've got the Magician and the Six of Swords. So this is really about carving your own path. And there's a feeling of excitement, like immediately following whatever gets kind of cleared up, whether this is just you, journaling and getting clear, or you working with somebody to help you get clear. There's a feeling of immediate spark and excitement with the Magician, and the Six of Swords is saying that you're getting things moving. So the third week of December is going to be very productive for you. You'll probably feel like your products or your services get reinvigorated. You might get more sales than normal, and just feel like you are getting this kind of energetic feedback from the universe that you're on the right track. Now, I want you to be mindful about the end of 2020, because you do have the Four of Pentacles and the Five of Wands, which I feel is a warning about overextending yourself. And typically, you know, that week between Christmas and the New Year is a little bit more quiet for people. You know, if you're the type of person that celebrates or that you go visit family, you might feel like, you know, you're taking a little bit more time off. Some of you might feel like you're fighting or arguing with family if you are visiting family, or you could just be continuing to work, you know, through the holiday. But there's a feeling of a little bit of disharmony and a sense of needing to like hold down the fort, funny enough, is kind of like the word that's coming to mind or the phrase that's coming to mind, because here you've got the four, and this card has its issues, right? The Four of Pentacles has its issues. It's holding on to things. Things are too, you know, stable, too fortified, too, you know, grounded sometimes. But if we compare that to the Five of Wands, it's almost preferable, right? Because here at least you have, you know, some semblance of routine. Here you have a sense of being grounded and rooted where, oh gosh, my card fell, but here you've got everything up in the air, you know, with the wands, they're all up in the air, everything's kind of swirling around. So one of the things I'm gonna suggest is that you try and be a little bit more like this guy, even if it means that you have to sacrifice on something, which is like why we're going from a 5 to a 4. If you let go of one of these things and say, okay, that's not a priority, or okay, you can just have it your way because I don't care enough to argue with you about it, you're going to be able to hold together the rest of your responsibilities a lot more easily. So it is about simplification and not overextending yourself and trying to avoid conflict by being willing to give a little bit. Now let's take a look at your cards. So we've got, it's funny that I just was saying you have to be willing to give a little bit because your Sacred Destiny Oracle card is flexibility, right? So yeah, going into 2021, it is going to be about being flexible. It's going to be about thinking about things from a different perspective and being willing to give a little bit while you're also taking a little bit. The Surrender Your Attachment to Results card is your surrender card. And it says, the formula for success is to do all that you can to make things happen and then let go of the results. Holding on too tightly to a desired outcome can sabotage it. And this is speaking now to me of the Four of Pentacles. So you want to kind of be the Four of Pentacles because you can't get around it. The card came up, right? So you're going to be attached to results of some kind. But with this card, I feel like it's also about not being too attached or not being too clingy to the way that things are, and just being open to letting the universe kind of show you a new shape that wants to take form. And so just being kind of easygoing about things, yielding a little bit. I know that's hard for entrepreneurs because we are in the driver's seat of our business and our life for a reason. We like to be able to control our own destiny or influence our own destiny to the highest degree possible. But at least in your case, I feel like this is more of a yin time. Actually, at the end of 2020, it will feel better to release, you know, your attachment to things like, you know, how things are going to look, and actually just take more of a Zen approach or a yin approach and say, you know what, life, show me what the best path would be, and really listen with an open heart to that, whatever comes back. Now your Bob Ross message is, look around at what we have. Beauty is everywhere. You only have to look to see it. So yeah, this is a bit of a mixed reading. You know, I have to say, it's like, you're in a really beautiful situation, but you're also growing, you know, and that's challenging. But I think if you focus on just being clear what your bottom line is and not trying to kind of keep your fingers in every pie, not trying to have 20 things on the burners, but just really focusing in on what matters the most to you and letting at the same time your life show you and reveal to you what would be the best outcomes for you, I think that you're going to be really happy with the way that things develop. But you have to be, it's interesting because you have to speak your truth, right, with the Black Eye card, and that's a challenge this month. But you also need to be flexible. So you have to be convicted in one sense to your truth, but you also need to be flexible to do things in your environment that you wouldn't necessarily choose for yourself, but that the situation would benefit from, right? So it's about thinking broader than just immediate gratification or just like what you want to say or do in this exact moment. It's about looking at all the influences available to you and making a sound judgment based on that. So I hope this reading has been helpful to you entrepreneurs out there. Thank you so much for being here. I would love to hear your feedback on this style of reading. If you found this useful and you're an entrepreneur, please give this video a thumbs up or leave me a comment. Let me know. Let me know too if you don't like it, if you're not crazy about it. I would love to know that as well. And I just want to say to you, I do have my 2021 personal year ahead forecast reading option below. I'll put the link to my website. So if you want to have me look into your cards on a personal level for your year in 2021, all that information will be below. And I wish you an amazing rest of the year. Happy New Year, and I will talk to you very soon. Bye.